So I'll just try and add to it. How are we looking at investments at iTrue, and discuss the 3 E's of investments as well. Before I directly go into the markets and what are the opportunities that we are seeing, let me also use this opportunity to present a bit and tell you a bit about the ICICI Prudential Alternates platform. The mutual fund is almost a household name. Most of you guys already know ICICI Mutual Fund, but the ICICI Alternatives piece is also actually one of the largest. We are managing close to 32,000 crores for 25,000 plus investors. We have all kinds of products, equity, debt, real estate, long short. So we have, the entire gamut of products in our stable. So the way we are positioned, all of you guys know there are a lot of, it's a crowded space when it comes to PMS and AIF. The way we are positioned is that we are a boutique within an institution. What that means is that we benefit immensely from the platform of ICICI Mutual Fund. And our platform is built on very strong pillars of research, risk management, compliance services, and fund management, similar to what also applies to our mutual fund. So without much ado, I have a shorter time slot of 20 minutes. So I'll directly jump into the 3 E's. The first being economy. This is something that Anirudh also spoke about, but how India is in a fast lane. And in the last 13 years, India has actually moved from number 9 to number 5 in terms of the GDP. And even if you look at the difference with respect to the number 3 and number 4 is not as much. So globally, when you look at, the large countries, US has its own issues. Europe is facing a huge inflation issue. Post the Ukraine war, China again has been at it trying to revive the economy, but none of that has been really successful. So even today, when we look at India in the global context, we are still in a good position. But what has driven this? Right? So where India is today is not a function of what has happened in the last 1 year or 2 years. It is actually the result of several structural reforms that took place in the last decade. So to give you a little history, what happened ever since 2014 to 19 is there were a lot of structural reforms happened in the economy, from demonetization, GST, RERA, the whole JAM Trinity, where UPI was introduced. So a lot of reforms have taken place in the economy. A lot of banks were put under IBC. NPL recognition was sort of fastened. What that resulted in was, a lot of pain was taken by the economy at that point of time. Because in these times, it's not only the bad businesses which get impacted, but also the good businesses which get impacted. But the pillars or the foundation that the government was laying in terms of getting the governance in order, getting the digitization in order, all of them actually worked very well. In judiciary, when you look at a governance, you look at companies in any public sector, be it banks, be it power or the energy sector, there's been a significant amount of reforms that have happened. It's no longer, the government is more forward-looking. At the same time, what the JAM Trinity has done is it has ensured that the financial inclusion has been happening at a rapid pace. So a lot of reforms happened between 2014 and 19. And when Indian economy was sort of coming out of the pain, that is when COVID hit us. So 2020 to 2022, the impact of everything that was done only get accelerated. And, the result is this, that India today is much better positioned in terms of, all the vectors, be it current account, which is less than 1%. When you look at fiscal deficit, that's close to 4%. So broadly, all the vectors of the economy are doing very well. But economy alone is not sufficient. We also need, corporate India to do well. So during that 2014 and 19, when a lot of reforms were doing well, the economy was still doing fine, but actually corporate India was struggling. So when you look at 2014 to 19 period, corporate profit to GDP was less than 3.5%, which is sort of our long-term average, right? And it went to an all-time low of 2% during COVID. And from that level, since 2020, there's been a sharp acceleration and we've crossed 4.8%. of GDP in the last 4 years. So while economy has been supportive, economy is in a good shape, what is actually driving the stock market at this point of time is the sharp improvement in the corporate profits. Along with that, the fact, if you look at the ROE, that the corporate India is making. So for the same period, the ROEs that the corporate India was making was actually less than 13%. And 13% is actually the cost of equity, right? So if there is any company which is looking to put capex, if he's not assured of the right kind of returns, nobody will put capex, right? So we've had a period where there was no investment happening from any pocket of the economy. It started off with government capex sort of picking up, and the private is yet to sort of pick up. But right now, what we are seeing, because the ROEs are moving closer to 15%, for corporate India, we are actually seeing more corporates coming and committing capital. So after this painful period, this is the sharp reversal. So now if you break down, where actually the growth is coming from, right? So we've broken down the market by market capitalization, the large companies, mid and small cap companies. If you would see, the big reversal actually happened in the small cap. The last table column that we had there, the middle column, which represents the earnings growth between 2015 and 19, that number for small cap was 0. And in an economy which is growing at 9-10% at a nominal run rate, large cap earnings growing at 2%, small cap almost no growth. That is how bad the pain the corporate India went through. And from there, because of the reforms that were taken along with COVID, that is where a sharp recovery has come. The small cap, which was growing earnings only at 0%, has actually grown at 45% since then. Similarly, mid caps have grown at 28% and Sensex has grown at 15%. So that is the sharp, difference in earnings, and the sharp jump in earnings has come through. Further, if you break it down into different sectors, where has this growth come from? So we've broken down the market very broadly into B2C and non-B2C, basically consumption and non-consumption businesses. So consumption in India has largely been fine. A large population, improving demographics, improving urbanization, improving education, income levels. The consumption part, which is the black line here, has been growing at 13% prior to 2020. And that still continues to grow at 13, which has moved up to 14%. But the big difference is on the non-B2C, which is manufacturing. And this includes everything. This includes metals, this includes cement, this includes textiles, capital good names. So a lot of companies, where the earnings growth was not happening, that is where basically that is where the big jump is happening in terms of earnings. So this sector was only growing at 4%, and this sector has now started to grow at 19%. And what this has done is there are several companies, in manufacturing, capital goods, which are doing well. At the same time, banks, particularly the corporate banks, have seen a big reversal in earnings, because all the issues that were actually impacting the corporate banks in terms of NPLs, loan growth not coming through, all of that got reversed. So sitting today, last 2 years, you would have seen most PSU banks have seen very healthy recoveries, and that cycle sort of still continues. Because as real estate is doing well, as various parts of the economy are doing well, from power to real estate, more and more recoveries are coming through. So at iPro, this was a big shift that we sort of identified last 2 to 3 years, and that is what we've been betting on. So we've been betting on manufacturing, we've been betting on financials, not just banking, but the whole financialization, more money going into mutual funds, more money going into insurance, and selectively betting on consumption. So all of this is good. The good part is that India is doing good, and within that, there's a big rebound in corporate profits. It has come off a low base. The data point that I shared with you, like how the small caps have been growing earnings at 45%. That base has started to normalize. So you will still not see that 35-40% growth for the entire small cap space, but there is reasonable momentum in the economy, and there are still various sectors and various companies which are giving 15-20% growth rate. But what is important to know when one is invested in the stock market is, it's not only numbers, it is also emotions. It is also several factors which is outside the control of the fund managers and the market. What is going to happen in US, whether there's going to be a war. These are some of the factors which are outside the control of the fund managers. So if, our team has put together this chart where, if one would have invested 1 crore in 2000, that money would have grown to almost 27 crores by now, which is an annualized run rate of 15% CAGR. But this journey is not straight line. I think that is an important fact, right? There were several instances where we had 30%, 40% sort of correction. And that is where temperament and emotions become very important, right? So anybody who's investing in equity, while I don't think there is any question that, one should invest their surplus in equity or not, that absolutely has to be done, but one needs to have a long-term orientation. So in this whole journey, whether you had invested in one of the peaks or one of the troughs, your returns would vary from like 80 bips to or maybe 100 bips on an annualized run rate. So investing from a long-term perspective, at the same time, don't try too much to sort of time the market. People who've been trying to time the market have lost money in the last 2 years because there's been no good time. If you remember beginning of 2023, when we were looking at how things were happening globally, things were looking really bad. Credit Suisse went belly up. There were other banks in US like SVB, which got bankrupt. Things were looking really bad. And people thought it's not a good time to invest, but small caps, mid caps gave you almost a 40-50% rally, and a good number of small caps and mid caps gave you that rally. So stay invested for long term, stay invested, don't try and time the market. And that is where the role of identifying the right fund manager, right advisors becomes very important, because not everybody will be able to hold on to their emotions when they see a 30% correction. And that is what, we are trying to do at iPro. I'll just give you, I'm largely done with the presentation in terms of earnings, in terms of economy, earnings, and emotions. So things are looking fine. India is in a good shape. Earnings, there's a good rebound. Even now, there's reasonable momentum in the economy. Manufacturing and financials is something which has done well, which will continue to do well. Consumption, there are some pockets which are doing well, some pockets which are not doing well. Particularly, there's been a K-shaped recovery post-COVID. The large part, the higher end of the economy, which is your higher-end real estate, high-end cars, watches, all of that is selling very well. But the rural has been under tremendous stress in the last 2 years, and that is also starting to change at the margin. So broadly, I think we are looking fine. But the team at iPro, we are a 5-member team. We leverage the research of the AMC. So we have about 25-member team looking at almost 600 sectors, 600 companies. And this is, by the way, the largest research outfit. So, that is what helps us identify opportunities, identify sector rotations. And that approach has worked very well for us. Just few themes, that we've been betting on last couple of years. So, I mentioned manufacturing. One of the big piece within manufacturing is rising energy intensity. Because if you look at India, we were in a power surplus scenario. And after almost 10 years, we're entering a power deficit. So India has had almost no capex when it comes to thermal and other forms of power. All the capex has only gone in solar, right? So India is at a scenario where if we don't invest in power now, we will again go back to the scenario where there'll not be enough electricity to support industries, to support households. So it's a huge value chain, we need all kinds of power, wind, thermal, nuclear. We need finances like PFC, REC to back these investments. We also need a lot of investments in grid, because as the share of renewable goes up, it results in more fluctuations. So that this is a big theme that we are betting on within manufacturing. The other part within manufacturing that we are betting on is the government capex. Capex, and we are hoping the private capex will also, continue. It has started only recently. So companies, which are into construction, companies which are into, railways, defense, government has actually done great work when it comes to reviving some of these sectors. Finally, it is, the financialization, and this is again, not only just banking, but also, you know, the other parts of the financialization, which is basically insurance, mutual fund, wealth creation. So we're betting on all of those in financialization. Consumption is something we are betting on very selectively because, as I mentioned, it is largely the large part of the higher part of the consumption which is doing well. Rural India has been still under tremendous stress. So very niche themes we are playing here, like telecom, like real estate, hotels, you know, and some of these, you know, newer trends like quick commerce and value fashion. So these are, you know, we have 6 key strategies. You know, they have different styles and different market cap in terms of, you know, how we are playing. So Pi, for example, is a small and mid cap strategy. All the other ones are multi-cap strategy, except the large cap ones, but they have different styles. I'll not spend much time here because this data is readily available from PMS Bazaar. I think this is something which is more important, and this data is not readily available. But as I mentioned, so financials is almost 30% of our portfolio, 35% across various schemes. Manufacturing, you can see manufacturing and manufacturing allied is almost 50% of our portfolios. And here again, it's not one company, it's not one sector, it is across. It is metals, it is cement, it is textiles, it is power, capital goods, ancillaries, logistics. So it's a multi-vector, you know, segment that we are betting on. Consumption is about remaining is 20-25%, which includes IT, healthcare, and consumption. And within consumption, we are not playing the usual, you know, the FMCG names, because we are seeing the growth actually at the higher end and not so much in the, you know, lower end. So with this, I think I'll largely conclude with our presentation. But broadly, when we construct portfolios, just 2 minutes on how we go about identifying ideas. We spend a lot of time in terms of identifying where the growth is in the market and where the starting valuations are, you know, at a point that, you know, as the sector is reviving, you can get a multiple re-rating, and the ROE expansion, right? So typically when you see high earnings growth with ROE expansion and a good starting PE multiple, that is what is the recipe for identifying multi-baggers, and that is the approach which has worked very well for us in the last, since inception. With this, I'll just conclude my presentation. Thanks a lot, everyone.